Welcome to The Explainer. So let me ask you something. Have you ever stopped and wondered if what you see is actually all there is? Today we're going to dive into that very question, inspired by the incredible ideas of storyteller Sufyan Alam. We're asking, is our reality just a tiny piece of a much, much bigger, unseen universe? Let's get into it.
All right, to even start to wrap our heads around this huge idea, we're going to have to shrink our perspective, like way, way down. Let's kick things off with a little thought experiment about a tiny creature, one whose world seems so much simpler than ours. Or is it?
So, picture an insect, just crawling along the ground. It lives right here in our world, a world that has length, width, and of course height. There's no doubt about it, that little guy physically exists in 3 dimensions.
Okay, but here's where we get to the really crucial part. The insect itself isn't flat, right? It's a physical 3D thing. But what if it can't actually perceive that third dimension? What if, for that insect, its entire universe is just this giant, flat, 2-dimensional plane?
Think about it. For this insect, the whole idea of up means nothing. It just doesn't exist in its world. Its entire life is just forward, backward, left, and right. That whole vast vertical world that's all around it, completely beyond its understanding. You know that giant foot that steps over it? To the insect, it's not just high up, it's in a dimension that might as well not even be real.
And boom, that right there is the central question, isn't it? Could we be just like that insect? Are we living in a reality that has whole other dimensions that we just can't see, that we're not built to perceive?
Right, so thinking about that insect's limited world, it really forces us to take a hard look at ourselves. I mean, we trust our senses completely, don't we? We just assume that what we see, what we hear, and what we feel, that's the whole story. But as it turns out, science tells us something completely different.
I mean, just think about light for a second. Our eyes see this beautiful rainbow of colors, right? But what we call visible light is just a tiny, tiny fraction of the full electromagnetic spectrum. Radio waves, microwaves, gamma rays, they're all around us right now, passing through us, but we're totally blind to them. And it's the same with sound. A bat uses ultrasound to see in the dark, but to us, it's complete silence.
It's a really humbling thought. Just because we can't perceive something doesn't mean it's not real. And this quote just hits it perfectly. The universe is under no obligation to make any sense to us. The reality we live in is already so much bigger than what our senses are telling us.
Okay, so if our senses are already missing stuff like radio waves and ultrasound, what else could we be missing? This is where things start to get really, really wild. What if, just like that little insect, we're completely blind to entire dimensions of reality?
And look, this isn't just some sci-fi movie plot. This is a real possibility that sits at the very heart of theoretical physics. You've got ideas like string theory that propose there aren't just 3 dimensions, but maybe 10, or even 11. The others are just curled up so small that we can't see them. Just let that sink in for a second. We could be multi-dimensional beings who can only comprehend 3.
You've definitely seen this idea explored in pop culture. I mean, think about the movie Interstellar. Humanity finds this wormhole near Saturn, and it was put there by these mysterious beings they just call they. And they seem to get how the universe works on a whole other level, even bending space-time to help us out.
And that movie brings up such a fascinating possibility. Who are they? What if they are just us? A future, more evolved version of humanity reaching back through time to give us a hand? Or maybe it's something even bigger than that. What if all of these scientific breakthroughs aren't just random discoveries? What if it's the universe itself, slowly revealing its secrets to us, just waiting until we're finally ready to understand?
And that line of thinking, that idea of a universe with a plan, well, it leads us to an even more profound and maybe even a little unsettling question about the nature of time itself.
Albert Einstein famously said that God does not play dice with the universe. He really believed that everything was predetermined. He was never comfortable with all the randomness you see in quantum mechanics. He was convinced that deep down, the universe had to follow strict, predictable rules.
And actually, Einstein's own theories of relativity point to this really mind-bending model of reality called the block universe. Now, try to picture this. Time isn't like a river, flowing from the past into the future. Instead, imagine all of time, the Big Bang, you listening to this right now, and the very end of the universe. It all exists at the same time. It's all part of a single, solid, four-dimensional block of space-time.
So in this model, what we call now is just our consciousness moving through this block that already exists. It means the past hasn't vanished, it's still there. And the future, well, it's already there too. It's all just laid out. And the implication of that is, well, it's staggering. If the future is already set, what does that mean for our choices, for our free will? Are we actually making decisions, or are we just actors playing out a script that's already been written, living with the illusion that we're the ones in control?
Naturally, this idea of a fixed timeline brings up that classic sci-fi question, right? The time travel paradox. If you could somehow travel to the past, could you actually change it?
Now, we always think about the big stuff, the classic grandfather paradox. But let's think about something way, way smaller. What if you went back in time and just took a single breath? That's it, just one breath. You've just taken oxygen molecules that were meant for something else and turned them into carbon dioxide.
That one tiny, seemingly insignificant change could kick off a massive chain reaction, the butterfly effect, that could literally unravel reality as we know it. The universe would be stuck in a conflict, a paradox it just can't resolve. And maybe that's why the past is unchangeable. Not because there's some cosmic rule, but because the laws of physics themselves just won't allow it.
Okay, let's just pause here for a second. Higher dimensions, a future that's already written. I know, these are huge, almost overwhelming ideas. So how on earth are we supposed to wrap our heads around all of this without getting totally lost? Well, the answer might actually be in changing how we think about science itself.
A big part of the problem could be the way most of us were taught science in school, right? It's so often just this collection of facts and formulas you have to memorize to pass a test. It feels like a chore, when it should be the most incredible adventure.
But here's the thing. As humans, we are born storytellers. It's how we learn. We've learned from the stories our parents and grandparents told us since the beginning of time. So, what happens when we stop thinking about science as a textbook and start seeing it as a story, as this grand, unfolding narrative of discovery? Well, suddenly it all becomes so much more accessible and, honestly, a lot more exciting.
And really, that's the ultimate point. When we frame science as a story, our whole relationship with it changes. It stops being just some subject in school, and it becomes what it really is, a powerful tool for critical thinking. It gives us the tools to ask these bigger questions, to challenge our own, maybe limited perceptions, and to wonder if the reality we see is just the very first chapter of a much, much grander story.